everyone. Welcome back to the TBM crew. And today I'm so happy to be with Damien Lee. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Hi, so happy you're here. I think you have a very special inspiration where you are, right? That you're inspired by your gothic environment.
Yeah. So here in Whitby, Whitby's probably the goth capital of England. Really, we're surrounded by Gothic architecture, and there's a lot of history here, a lot of rich history.
Mm-hmm.
Not to
Yes.
mention, obviously, got Dracula's link here as well, which doesn't go unnoticed either.
Well, that's an amazing inspiration. I feel you because here in Spain, there's lots of castles and cathedrals, and you just get inspired by seeing it around you. I mean, it's completely different.
Yeah,
You have a series of books, right? The Virus series. Can you tell me about it?
yeah. So the virus is it's an apocalypse zombie apocalypse series set in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it came about. Most of my ideas come through dreams, to be honest with you, and this one
Mm-hmm.
particular involved zombies. So,
Mm-hmm.
and what I used to do before smartphones and all that were invented, I had a little notepad on the side of my bed, and I'd wake up, I'd jot down a few little ideas, and I'd go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And the virus came about about 10 years ago. And it actually took me about 10 years to write the novel.
Wow.
Um, Mainly because I just wasn't really that invested in it at the time. It was more of a case of just I didn't intend to publish it. I thought I'd
Hmm.
just get that story out of my head. Um,
Yes.
and it was a vicious cycle. I'd go from writing, and I was quite heavily into music at the time as well. So I'd go from writing, I'd then move on to doing band stuff and being in bands and music, and then I'd move on to sport and fitness,
Mm-hmm.
and then move
Yes.
back my story again. So throughout the years, I was constantly rotating. Um, and then eventually, after about 10 years, the virus got finished, and it sat there for a while, and I was online a bit more, and I was reading other people's stories and things like that. And I thought, this could be a fairly decent story. I'll get it published. So
Mm-hmm.
I looked into getting an editor, paid for cover design and things like that. And I released the virus on March last year. It was March 21.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And for me, I thought, I might get a couple of people saying it was good. I might get, one or two reviews and things, but it just absolutely skyrocketed. Loads of people messaging saying how good it was. They were saying when's the next one coming out, and
Yes.
really good series. And I mean, I never intended on making it a series. I intended it to be a standalone book,
Hmm.
and everyone was saying, "Oh, I can't wait for the next one to come out," and they basically knew before me that it was going to be a series. Um, so after I'd finished that one, I then looked into releasing another one. So here's the virus here. The virus came out, like I say, March 21. And then
Mm-hmm.
I started the sequel after that. And the sequel, which is The Host,
The host. Yes.
apologies for research. I'm still waiting for more copies to come. But The Host got released a few weeks ago. And again, it's been doing quite well. So I anticipate another couple of books, maybe 2 to 3 more, maybe, and see where it goes from there. Really.
And do you plan to make something graphic with them, like some kind of graphic novel, or maybe turn them into a film or something like that? Because
Uh,
with that kind of inspiration and that kind of imaginary, sometimes
mhm.
these things work really well. And if people are loving your novels, have you
Yeah.
considered
I mean,
it?
if somebody ever wants to make a movie of the virus, I'm all for it. Do whatever you want. I don't think it'll be me making it. I'm not that good with cameras and things. But if somebody wants to do it, let them crack on. Um,
That
Fine
would be
by
so
me.
fun.
Yeah, definitely. I think it would make a good movie as long as I get paid a lot as well. That'd be nice.
What was the first book you read?
The first book I read,
If you remember, because I can't.
I can't remember really. From a horror perspective, my dad used to tell me a lot of stories, about the local folklore and things. There's a lot of ghost
Mm,
stories, history about, there's things like demons and all kinds of like and
mm.
woodland creatures that originate from these parts. With the local folklore. So I heard a lot about that when I was growing up. And I think I don't know if it was Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula was the first one I read, which for a child is quite a tough read. For those who've read it, I think that was the first one I read, and from there it just went on to I'd try and get my hands on anything I could. I think I discovered Stephen King after that one, and then the likes of Richard Lehman and people like that, and I just picked up every book I could find really, and it just went on from there. Became
you have a brilliant horror background.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite an eclectic taste. I think there's anything horrific I enjoy really. I like every type of novel, horror novel. I don't really have a set favorite really.
Do you have any written or in your mind about haunted places? Because it's very linked to the Gothic architecture, right? And that's what I think about when I see all these castles and all of these, that I have them because I live in a place where it's just in the middle of the mountains and the vineyards. And there's plenty of, so beautiful. And it's plenty of these big farm monasteries, kind of buildings that maybe they are 1,000 years old. And I always think, and you can just get in and can be around so easily. And I think, how many ghosts are there in here? You know? So maybe, do you have something in mind or have something written about this?
Yeah, I mean, I've over the years of me just writing down scrolls on my notepad, and then obviously since the smartphone came out, I've now got the notes app that I write notes on now. Not old school anymore. I intended the virus to be a one-off novel, and then I was going to write something completely different. And I think I've got close to 40 to 50 storylines potentially written of completely different books. Now, some of them are quite, intricate storylines. I've got pages and pages of potential.
Yes.
And then there's a single page with a single sentence of something like, like a killer crab or whatever I was dreaming of at the time. So, I've got quite a lot of different ideas. And once I finish the zombie series, I think I'll be exploring them a bit more. There's definitely haunted house things in there. And ghost and paranormal kind of things in general, because again, that's what I'm reading about. So going forward, I think there will be something like that, down the line.
And which one of your books, or because you're also in anthologies, right? Yes. Then, if a reader wants to start reading your work, where should they start from?
Probably start with I'd say start with a virus, to be honest with you. That's probably the start with, purely because the other stories that I've written, the short stories, one of them, I mean, you're talking years ago now, where I was basically starting out writing, so I can admit the writing's not as good as it could have been. It got published, like I say, it was in different anthologies, but I've got a short story in one which again is about and the submission guidelines for that was, think of a classical monster, throwing some zombies and see how they cope with it. So for mine, I chose Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Set in olden day Victorian London, the zombie apocalypse. That's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and see how it goes. And obviously, it's a short story, so there's not a great deal of character development and things like that in there. But I mean, that's not a bad one. And the other short story I've written was about exploring like a haunted house.
Okay.
It was a story about some YouTubers who go into an abandoned house, to do these, urban exploring and things like that.
Yes.
It doesn't turn out very well for them. That's another story. That one's called The Bed of Tulips, that one. But I think if anyone wants to, see what kind of my writing style is, you could look at any of those, but I think the virus is a good one to start with. I've currently reduced it as well. It's at a reduced price at the minute. So if anyone wants to read any of my work, I'd suggest go with the virus, and it's all for free on Kindle Unlimited as well. So if anyone has that, feel free to check it out.
Okay, of course, I will link everything below, so you can just go to the description box and take anything from there. And also, now that you were telling that it took you a long time to write that novel, well, even if you weren't just focusing only on that, that gives you also a lot of experience in writing, editing, going back and forth. What would be your advice for new writers? Something you would just correct from the past, or something you have learned?
I mean, for me, I never took my writing seriously to begin with, because it was more of a hobby, and I didn't really think it would end up being anything. I mean, had I have known it would have been this successful, you know, I never would have spent 10 years dawdling. I would have focused on my but now I'm taking my writing seriously, and I'm actually, you know, putting active effort into creating books. I released, after the virus, I released The Virus Origins, which is a collection of short stories, and it complements The Virus. And then I focused on the horse. So I'm managing to write about 2 books a year now. I'm trying to push that to 3 if I can this year. We'll see how we get on with that. But for me, if I was to give anybody any kind of advice, is just to keep on trying, keep on focusing, and just keep on writing. For me, the issue I had was because it was like a cycle, and I'd write a bit, and then I'd go focus on music, and I'd focus on fitness, and I'd forget. I mean, my memory is terrible anyway. I've got the worst memory in the world, but I'd forget everything I've written. And I'd have to get the other characters again, and then I'd start. I mean, the early draft of The Virus, with it being over 10 years of different writing, my writing style changed massively over those 10 years. And when I mean, I think she was pulling her hair out, bless her, when she first saw that, because there's so many different, you know, different ways of writing, the different writing styles, different nuances I used, and different kind of, you know, personality that my characters had, and then they didn't have it anymore, and then had it again later on. I think it became a bit, you know, disjointed. So for me, if there's anybody who's starting out writing, just literally sit with it, focus on it, and just keep on working through writer's block, keep working through as much as you can until you get that.
And what is the best horror you have watched or read, or both?
I mean, from a movie perspective, I mean, I'm 80s through and through. I absolutely love the 80s. You know, if we could stay the 80s forever, you know,
I think we all do. I think no one says, I love the current horror movies. I just love them. No one, absolutely no one.
Yes. So, and I think if I was to say my favorite movie from that era, I always say The Lost Boys. The Lost Boys is
absolutely, yes.
It's like a nostalgic kick, you know, straight back to the with the big hair and the colours and the lycra and all that kind of stuff, and
yes,
and it's just got everything. So I mean, that's probably one of my favourite films. From a book perspective, I'm not really sure. I think one of my favourite books that I've read, which I can read over and over again, is Funland by Richard Lehman. That's quite that was because I discovered that when I was a teenager, and that kind of like got me into the splatterpunk side of things, and I started reading a lot more Richard Lehman from then on, and that one kind of stuck with me. So I'd probably suggest that one as one of the ones that I can read over and over again.
Yes.
Maybe if you were to talk about Stephen King, Pet Sematary is one that I've read quite a few times. Again, I think that one's just, it's so visual when you read it. You know, you can just see everything. Maybe that one as well. If I was to cite a favourite, but I don't think there's ever one I could just pick. I'm reading all the time, so
yes. And where can readers find you if you want to check you out?
I'm everywhere. I'm all over social media. I'm not a fan of social media. I've got to admit, I do struggle with it. Trying to find, it doesn't come naturally to me. I know people who grew up with social media, they're on it all the time and things like that, but it doesn't come naturally to me. So I do try and make an active effort to stay active on as many social media platforms as I can. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I have a TikTok account. I don't use it much, I've got to admit. You won't catch me any dances or anything like that on it, but I've TikTok as well. I mean, I'm on most of them. So if anyone wants to message me, you know, I'm always lurking about somewhere. So yeah. And
just one more question: Do you play video games? Do you like them?
Yeah, I grew up with video games, and I spent that. I don't really spend that much time on them these days, as much. But yeah, I grew up with them, so I was quite a big gamer in my youth and teenage years and so on. So yeah, I games.
Yes, and do you and have you played horror games? Are you into them?
Yeah. I remember one of the first horror game I played was Resident Evil. When that first came out, 90 was it 95, 96, I think it was around about that time.
Yeah.
That one stuck with me because before then I'd never played anything like that before, at all. These survival, video games, they weren't that as big until Resident Evil came, at least not for me personally anyway. And then after that, that became a bit of an obsession as well. And I'd spend, count. I wouldn't like to think how many hours and days and weeks of my life I spent just gaming, sat in front of a screen, just gaming constantly.
Yes.
And again, I'd pick up as many games as I could find. I got into Silent Hill a lot, and then Resident Evil. Every Resident Evil game that came out after that, I'd buy it. I'd be the first one to buy it. So yeah, I definitely spent a lot of time gaming.
Okay. I know it's so nice to talk to you, but we're running out of time. Just one last thing. Do you have any message for the audience, the readers that are watching us? Anything you want to tell them?
Yeah, just that to reiterate, the virus is out if anyone wants to buy it. Start with the virus and move on from there. I'm currently writing book number 3 of the virus series. So I've got the virus, I've got the host, and as an exclusive for you, Ma, I'm going to call the third one. I've just decided I'm going to call the third one the mutation.
Okay.
I'm working on the mutation at the minute now. I'm about 5,000 words into it, so it's at early stages, but I'm hoping to get that out. Maybe I'm hoping to finish it within about 3 to 4 months. That's the time frame I'm giving myself. So if I can achieve
the deadline, no more 10 years to write a book.
No more. I'm going to try. Well, I'll write them in 10 weeks, to be honest with you. But no, about 3 to 4 months, I think I'm going to try on this one, and hopefully I'll be able to get that one out and then start on the next one.
Amazing. Then we'll have to stay tuned. Let me know. Yeah. Let me know when it's out. I want to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Then thank you so much for your time, Damien. So happy to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We'll stay in touch. We'll link everything below so everyone can check everything out. Again, we'll stay tuned to your third book, and good luck with your projects.
Much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.